This is Lyadov, and today we're broadcasting from South Korea. When I learned martial law was declared, honestly, I was shocked because it felt like our world took another step towards some global geopolitical collapse, because we must remember that South Korea is still in a very complicated relationship with its main unpredictable neighbor, North Korea. And since no peace treaty was signed, they're technically still at war. Now that internal political tensions have started, things have really heated up. Today, Maxim Boitsov reports from South Korea, having visited the DMZ border with North Korea.
The world's eyes are on South Korea these past few days. Martial law lifted after 6 hours and mass protests against President Yoon Suk-yeol. The opposition's impeachment attempt failed. Only 195 out of 300 lawmakers participated in the vote. 200 votes were needed to pass the impeachment bill. Ex-Defense Minister Kim Jong-un, the president's close ally, attempted suicide days later. Some political analysts, interestingly, link him to a coup plot. North Korea's delayed, mocking response highlighted South Korea's vulnerabilities. The president won't resign while citizens protest for his ouster. The opposition vows to keep fighting. This highly developed Asian nation's fate hangs in the balance.
The head of state's sudden declaration of martial law led to a profound political crisis. What exactly happened on the night between the 3rd and 4th? How's the president's wife involved? And might Kim Jong-un exploit the southern neighbor situation? Who are these people from Seoul? My name is Maxim Boitsov. Let's go.
South Korea is a tech powerhouse. Its brands Samsung and LG have outpaced Japan's Sharp, Sony, and Panasonic. Hyundai and Kia cars are giving Toyota, Honda, and Nissan a run for their money. South Korea boasts the world's fastest internet. Samsung phones are second only to iPhones in popularity. Korean medicine is world-class, with doctors being highly respected and well-paid. They earn nearly triple the average salary. Hospitals have top-notch equipment, with many using robots for surgeries. It's known for excellent plastic surgery and treatment of heart and cancer issues. The average life expectancy is about 83 years. T223, UNS declares martial law in urgent national address.
대한민국 국가 재정을 농락하는 것입니다.
T242, opposition calls urgent rally of supporters at parliament. 2304, National Assembly entrance blocked. Special Forces Group 2347 is moving towards Parliament. Scuffles break out as unarmed deputies confront armed special forces. 12 minutes past midnight, December 4th, special forces try to enter Parliament through a back entrance and broken windows. Politicians defend using fire extinguishers. 102, National Assembly unanimously votes to lift martial law. 101, Special Forces begin exiting Parliament. 4:26 a.m., Chun Doo-hwan lifts martial law. 4:49, Martial Law Command has been disbanded. December 5th, 8 a.m., we arrive in Seoul.
We're at Seoul's main airport, Incheon, and nothing here suggests that just yesterday, South Korea was on the brink of a global political crisis, even involving the military. It's completely quiet and calm. I can say I haven't seen a single police officer, let alone any military personnel. I didn't notice anything from the plane to the airport express train.
However, for Koreans, The sudden declaration of martial law on the 3rd was a real shock. We're now heading from the airport to the National Assembly in central Seoul, where parliament members convene. It's here that the political drama unfolded.
People are jogging here, some sipping coffee in the park, but these stacks around scattered across the square, they're hinting that at any moment cops might need to break it all up, cordon off areas, and somehow prevent what could kick off.
As we approach, locals pose for photos in front of the parliament, capturing this historic moment. However, when we try to chat, Korean women shy away. Most people just go about their business, with few daytime protesters, mainly older folks. Single pickets stand by parliament, police on duty. Posters on the ground read, "Constitution destroyed, rebellion, crime, fascist dictatorship, overthrow Yoon Suk-yeol."
It's funny, she had a sign in Korean. I approached and asked if she spoke English. She simply flipped the sign over, revealing English text on the other side. It was about martial law, stating the president who imposed it is needed. Goodbye.
Just think, in your country, they nearly toppled the legislative body days ago. But for Koreans, protests are festive affairs, complete with music and dancing.
You can't tell at first if it's a protest or some wild gathering, because everything here kind of reminds you that revolution isn't exactly a gentle affair, you know? Here we've got guys in helmets warming up, dancing, and these lively, tough old-timers who seem to have plenty of time and energy for this.
Several phones film dancing grannies, all live streamed to social media. Police cars nearby, but no cops in sight. Just traffic guards and curious onlookers filming on phones.
Surprisingly, right in front of the National Assembly, there's a spot for all protests. Of course, these days, it's mostly against the president, martial law, and the ruling party. But check this out. There's even a booth for anti-vaxxers. They've set up this stylized altar right here labeled Memorial Altar for Vaccination Victims. Inside, there are photos of people who got vaccinated but still suffered or died from COVID. There are stats on vaccinated deaths. They're just sitting there untouched.
To the left of the anti-vax tent, Yoon Suk-yeol's opponents had already set up.
Because out! 윤석열 out!
But she's so fired up, she absolutely hates the current president. I can tell just from her gestures, she's basically saying he should be executed on the spot.
What happens under martial law? All political activity is banned, including protests, strikes, parliament, regional authorities, parties, and local councils. Media is controlled. Arrests without warrants are allowed. The president aimed to control the country and remove opposition critics who opposed his every move. He accused the opposition of anti-state activities and collaborating with North Korean communists early in the week. Many dismissed these bold claims. Seoul University professor Andrei Lonkov couldn't fathom the president's strategy.
Well, my first impression was he'd crashed and burned. Honestly, what followed didn't change my mind much. He had zero chance of success. Declaring martial law in modern South Korea? That's as crazy as doing it in Germany or the UK. It was clear from the start this would be shut down immediately.
As suddenly as it began, it all ended just as abruptly. Most MPs snuck into the chamber at night to vote against martial law. At 1:02 a.m., they decided. By 1:08 a.m., troops began leaving Parliament. 190 out of 300 MPs voted against the state of emergency.
Why didn't the army escalate after Parliament voted to end martial law?
Well, South Korea is a democracy, But if, say, the British Army was ordered to storm Parliament, they'd do it. Imagine a call from the PM's office or even the King saying, storm Parliament. You know, such orders didn't fly well even in the 17th century, let alone now. As for special forces units, they were put on high alert. They'd been prepped for about a day, suggesting a possible North Korean provocation requiring immediate action. This came after attempts to bring them under parliamentary control. When they raised the periscope, they were sure they were being sent to intercept some North Korean landing force. In the choppers, they learned they were actually flying to storm the parliament and were shocked by this turn of events. Naturally, they essentially sabotaged this order.
The military coup attempt lasted about 6 hours, a world record. All Koreans watched the president and deputies struggle live on TV. Pavel Kim moved here 5 years ago and dove right into politics.
I didn't sleep that night. We were all glued to our screens, monitoring the situation. Thankfully, there are Telegram channels that quickly translate and share news updates.
What do you think would have happened if Kutrugu hadn't lifted martial law? Would it still be in place?
Well, that'd be a real mess.
Everyone wondered, would the president resign or face impeachment? One thing was clear, he couldn't stay in office. Journalists, experts, and locals theorized about the president's decision. Theories ranged from power-hungry motives to mental breakdown. Oleg Kiryanov, a Korea expert since '94, agrees with Lankov's take.
I've got this feeling that the guy just snapped, you know? It all built up and he finally lost it. The only thing I can say is, well, I don't know what personal issues he had, but they're saying now that the martial law idea was actually his close friend's idea, who's now the former defense minister, Kim Jong-un. They're truly friends from school. In South Korea, these bonds are highly valued. This defense minister used to be the president's head of security and just recently took on his new role.
So the first theory is that the defense minister is to blame. He was recently arrested on suspicion of treason, by the way. The second theory is an armed rebellion the president left due to his wife, Kim Ki-on-hee. She's 52, but looks much younger, maybe 30 at most. His wife is plagued by one scandal after another. The biggest one happened at the end of last year. Yoon's wife accepted a Dior bag worth $2,200. Such gifts in Korea can be seen as bribing an official. However, this October, prosecutors dropped all charges. The scandal hit Yoon's ratings hard. Koreans dislike his wife, and the opposition has repeatedly called for an independent investigation. The president vetoed these requests. Rumors say Kim has direct influence on state policy.
She's from a family of mid-level businessmen known for their extreme shadiness by Korean standards. They dug up some dirt on her, not totally harmless, but nothing too serious if we're being honest. But the president himself, who's clearly deeply in love with his wife, is very triggered by this. There's a crucial factor here because this insane decision, as I'd call it, was a reaction to attempts to investigate his wife's misconduct.
The South Korean presidency has long been considered a risky position, with at least two of Yoon's predecessors facing corruption charges. In 2016, it came to light that President Park Geun-hye was involved in her husband's corrupt dealings. Nationwide protests erupted. Park was impeached, then sentenced to over 20 years in prison.
Why is being South Korea's president such a risky job?
Absolutely decimated, yeah. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say how this historically came about, but almost always after a president leaves office, there's a thorough examination, a meticulous, let's say, scrutiny of all their affairs and exposure of all their mistakes, sooner or later something turns up. Not always, but often. If not on him, then on his wife. It's classic, straightforward corruption. We're talking about 2.5 cases, two presidents who, let's say, had their hands deep in the state's pockets.
The young guy didn't work out. He became the 13th president in 2022, his party being Power of the People. From day one, the head of state clashed heavily with the Democratic Party, which holds the majority in parliament. Ideologically, they couldn't stand each other. The opposition constantly blocked all of the president's initiatives, be it laws, appointments, cabinet picks, or budget approvals. The ideological standoff grew each month, but even so, no one mentioned impeachment.
Parliament ignored him completely. About 80 to 90% of his proposed laws were vetoed by Parliament. The opposition dominates there. In 2024, parliamentary elections were held again. He clearly hoped the ruling party would perform better, making it easier for him to govern for the remaining half of his term. He had, theoretically, quite a bit left, over 2 years to rule, but they lost the elections badly again. The ruling party's position became even worse than before.
Yoon kept silent after his performance, didn't resign, just apologized for martial law, and Koreans protested. Candles are a key symbol of the demonstration. Used since the 90s, in 2002, a U.S. Army vehicle fatally hit two 14-year-old students. This occurred in Yongju, north of Seoul. The military was found not guilty of negligent homicide. Candles then became a symbol of dissent. If someone didn't buy one in advance, they can get one at the demonstration site.
There's a woman selling electronic candles. No open flames here, it's all fire safe. These electronic candles are really beautiful. Look how they glow. She's got a barcode. I got a candle, paid in Korean won, and joined the rally. And look how organized this rally is. See how it looks visually. It's more like, I don't know, some art installation or performance. Everyone's got these identical sized posters. They're all the same design with flashlights. Look how weird it is. Like people came to put on some kind of show. I just don't know, maybe it's a concert or something else, you know? It doesn't look like people came to demand the president's resignation and tear everything down. How organized does all this look?
Well, at rallies, they don't just dance and sing. This guy's warming up, shouting slogans to keep the crowd fired up. Just look at the passion. His voice is about to crack. The crowd is really into it, backing his calls and not even checking their phones.
For some, it's a protest. For others, it's business. Look, this old lady figured out there'd be crowds in the square today. People will get cold and tired eventually, it being December and all. So she brought a cart of foam pads, selling them for one each. That's 75 rubles, just under $1. But many came prepared with their own cushions. Some even have them glued on already. You can tell they're regulars here. Some have these thick, comfy seat pads. They're winter ready, well insulated, so the old lady doesn't sell all the time.
In South Korea, folks protest for any reason. They truly believe they can make a difference this way. Downtown, a sea of female teachers in bright pink vests marches by, all in high spirits.
Look at this pink river, it's beautiful. You might think it's fans of some K-pop group, but these are actually Korean high school teachers. They've come to the central square today instead of teaching classes. Yesterday, this same spot saw protests from those wanting to impeach the president. Today, these teachers are protesting their stagnant wages and tough working conditions. The students, meanwhile, are probably thrilled. So today, on this sunny Friday, they've gathered like this. Some are standing, others have decided to sit down.
Overall, if you don't know what's happening, it's like some alternate world. The music is upbeat, the sun's shining, and there's a spring vibe in the air. Everyone's in a great mood. They've come as if for a stroll to refresh, laugh, and chat. Everything's peaceful and just flowing along. In the crowd, I spotted just one guy, probably a PE teacher or laborer. Everyone's grooving to the music, sharing water, chatting, but hiding their faces. They're likely scared their students might discover where teachers sneak off to on Fridays instead of teaching. Hey, check out the tunes these teachers are jamming to. Don't tell me you wouldn't want to join this wild gathering yourself.
With this kind of music, it feels like you could stand up for your rights. It's so powerful, you could fight for anything. I don't understand Korean at all, but it still gives me chills. It's just that intense.
It's normal to talk politics here. Many people, even young ones, are very engaged in this. They know all the layers of society, all the top brass. They can discuss it freely without any consequences. People there don't just sit quietly. If something's not right, they speak up. They calmly go out and protest. Weekend rallies? That's just normal in Korea.
Just so you know, this rally was organized by the opposition, the Democratic Party. They've been trying to oust the president for a while now. So you've got politically charged folks here, both young and old.
Despite all the freedom and the police not interfering, they're totally at ease, acting like they're at a concert. Many hide their faces with masks and try to avoid the camera, using posters to cover themselves. Many people here wear medical masks. It's probably an Asian thing, but it's really noticeable how many hide their faces.
Of course, if people they know see they protested, that's a bit of an issue. I wouldn't say it's dangerous. There's no serious issue, but it's coming from the state, the government. But Korean political culture is, how to say, intense. It's really heated, so expect lots of haters in the online comments.
But not everyone's shy. Some are willing to talk on camera. We meet an older man in the crowd. He couldn't stay home during this.
Imposing martial law is a terrible decision. As a citizen, I couldn't just sit idly by. That's why I'm here today. Yoon must go, but he won't leave willingly. We must keep the pressure on him. I'll be here every day.
Here's another surprising thing. After any rally, be it for thousands or just 20 people, Koreans always clean up, leaving no litter behind.
Look how fast these guys pack up. The rally just ended. We only had time to talk to one person. They've cleaned everything. Look, not a single trace remains of the crowd with flags that was here. No one's littering. Just take a look. Look how neatly they packed everything up. They bagged and tied it all. Trash bags separate, rally gear separate, even the cushions they sat on. All folded and tied in just 10 minutes.
Koreans also rally for the president, but not in large numbers. Yoon Suk-yeol's approval ratings were low before. Now they're in free fall. Polls show 13% support him, while 75% view him negatively. Still, a small group of supporters gathers in the square.
He is very brilliant man, like Trump, President Trump. We want President Yoon make unification with North Korea. There will be many North Korean spies in this South Korea.
These are mostly local far-right groups, often linked to churches. Christian churches, both Catholic and various Protestant denominations, have significant influence in Korea. While these groups exist, they're a minority, as we'd say in American terms.
But at the president's rallies, there's plenty going on. patriotic songs blare from speakers while a speaker on stage fires up the crowd.
Well, who I didn't expect to see here was the new U.S. President Donald Trump in person. Well, on a poster, but still present at this rally supporting the current Korean president. American flags are actually a key detail that distinguishes conservative party supporters from those backing the current president. From the stage, they're chanting slogans against impeachment today, of course.
Yoon's supporters are mostly older folks and Marine vets, including those who fought and saw the military coup in the 70s.
Look, this guy came to support the current president. He's showing old photos of someone who was actually from the opposing Democratic camp. He's holding up a picture. He says when they met with Kim Jong-un, yes, everyone knows he allegedly gave him money, making him a spy. And well, there are many Democrat spies working for North Korea now. So it's right they impose martial law, but he says it's needed to catch, round up, and weed them all out.
Yoon's supporters are divided. They want unity with the North, yet see North Korean spies everywhere. Espionage accusations can target high-ranking officials with access to sensitive info or even ordinary people. These are usually North Korean defectors seeking a better life in the South. That's how Song Chun-sun, a North Korean resident, ended up in South Korea. She worked as a waitress but was quickly exposed by South Korean intelligence. Such refugees undergo thorough checks. Song admitted she was recruited to bring back defectors to North Korea. Since 1990, over 30,000 North Koreans fled south. It's unclear if she succeeded, but she got 3 years. Yoon Suk-yeol implemented a tough policy towards North Korea. For instance, in 2023, he suspended participation in an agreement aimed at reducing tensions.
His entire North Korea policy is built on the idea that we need to pressure North Korea. They've proposed a unification doctrine, but it's more like a takeover doctrine. And when there's harsh criticism of North Korea for 2 pages, and then he says, we still offer dialogue, it's clearly just a formality, not real dialogue. They'll keep pressuring North Korea's unwanted, and of course, North Korea seeing such a bad person for them. It's like he's created these problems for himself, and they're clearly happy about it.
After this, the North also escalated tensions. Earlier this year, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un dissolved the Reunification Committee, declaring South Korea an enemy. Recently, the world watched both Seoul's political crisis and North Korea's reaction. Will they seize this chance to attack their neighbor?
But there's nothing surprising here. Don't think North Korean press covers the outside world as extensively as Soviet press once did. At the government level, intel agencies and think tanks, they've got all this info. Of course, it's all monitored. But can they actually use it? Well, I don't think so. How could they? I mean, what can they really do?
The DMZ, a demilitarized zone between North and South, appears calm and peaceful. It's a 4 kilometers wide border area, 2 kilometers in each country, stretching 241 kilometers across the Korean peninsula. It spans the entire Korean peninsula. The DMZ was established after the North-South War in summer 1953. No peace treaty was signed, so the countries are technically still at war. Tourists visit the south side, but North Korea's 2 kilometers is off limits. No one's allowed in, filming is restricted, and wandering off is forbidden. Small red signs hang on the fences. Warning, mines.
We're now in the DMZ between South and North Korea. Here's the actual fence. This is South Korean military territory. Beyond this fence with flags, you see those red flags? They warn of possible mines just beyond the fence. Only authorized soldiers from both sides can go beyond this fence.
While armed clashes are long gone, the military's found a unique way to unwind, blasting music from massive speakers for the whole neighborhood.
Generally, South Korean troops are savvy with audio propaganda. Right near the North Korean checkpoint,
They've set up loudspeakers blasting 24/7. Listen, you can hear it now. Yeah, it's a popular South Korean song about freedom, democracy, and how anyone can soar. But they also play K-pop here sometimes. You might hear Blackpink or BTS. I'm not sure if North Koreans understand K-pop, but they've definitely heard it. At least the North Korean soldiers have. You know, both sides love to mess with each other. South Korean activists were sending weather balloons to North Korea packed with food, papers, mags, and even cash. The North got ticked off and hit back. They're launching thousands of balloons daily, filled with trash and manure. They land all over. At first, bomb squads in hazmat suits checked them out, just in case. One of these nasty balloons even landed at the presidential office. Another hit the Japanese embassy roof in Seoul.
They're launching regularly with about 7,000 launches so far, happening several times a month. Here's the deal. You send us your ideological propaganda trash while we're just throwing back plain old garbage. Catch that.
The opposition had good relations with North Korea. From 2017 to 2022, opposition leader Moon Jae-in was president. He was the one who advocated for peace with North Korea. In 2018, he even met with Kim Jong-un.
The opposition Democrats believe we should try to improve relations with China, Russia, and North Korea. The main disagreement seems to be over North Korea.
So, if Democrats are accused by some hawks of being a bunch of pro-communists, it's not entirely true, but they do try to establish relations with North Korea. The previous president, for instance, held summits with Kim Jong-un. That was their policy.
Meanwhile, in Seoul, tensions are rising. The president's party refused to vote on impeachment, meaning the opposition must work hard to oust Yoon. The power dynamic is fascinating. It's like a gripping thriller with an unpredictable ending. For impeachment, 200 votes are needed out of 300 in parliament. Currently, the opposition has 192 votes. These are guaranteed votes for impeaching President Yoon. They need 8 more votes from the ruling party, which has supported or at least used to support President Yoon.
In the evening, awaiting vote results, impeachment supporters gathered again at the National Assembly building. Squeezing through the crowd was challenging. About 150,000 attended the rally. Parents even brought their children to protest, as it's safe here. Parliament sat until evening. Despite the chill, some protesters warmed up in a nearby luxury hotel's restroom. Security didn't mind, while those outside found ways to entertain themselves.
It's freezing in the square, especially at night. Protesters have been here for hours. To keep warm, they're doing morning exercises on the big screen. Check this out. The whole square is doing an evening winter warm-up. It's meant to heat things up a bit. This massive crowd moves in perfect sync, as if they'd rehearsed for hours. It's not just a warm-up. Everyone's dancing to K-pop, young and old alike. The whole country's here with a drum orchestra to boot. Despite the festive atmosphere and public pressure, Parliament can't secure enough votes. The opposition threatens impeachment votes almost weekly. Clearly, South Korea's political crisis is set to escalate.
Korea is interesting in this way. No matter how long you live here, it's always dynamic. They once had a slogan, Dynamic Korea, which was just advertising at first, but later became ironic, like, who knows what they're up to now? We're seeing it clearly.
I think, well, to put it bluntly, he's headed for jail. The question is when and for how long? How serious is it? His supporters and even some in the ruling party who aren't his fans have a job: delay his exit as much as possible. Not forced or premature, but inevitable. His departure from power before term's end is now clearly unavoidable.
Yoon's likely headed for a long prison stint even while still president. Prosecutors view the head of state as a suspect in rebellion and power abuse.